so many of you today here in Viipuri Hall. We have a discussion about future competence needs and capability needs with trailblazers. And we were discussing first, the plan was to have this discussion in Finnish, since majority of our new students over here speak Finnish, because our bachelor degree is in Finnish. It's mandatory by the Finnish law. But then we had a very interesting advisory board meeting today with these gentlemen, and we were thinking that we really need to have a global mindset. And actually that means that we would need to speak many different languages, but then we decided that we will use English. So if we have any international students here, please raise your hand. Okay, good. So it was a wise choice to use English instead. So why are we here today? The title of this panel discussion is Show the Way, Never Follow. And we have here 3 trailblazers in their own field, in energy, in information and communication technology, trailblazers who have really showed the way, and we hope that they will do so also in the future. We have Risto Siilasmaa, the chairman of the board of Nokia. We have also Anssi, Vanjoki, our own professor of practice and multi-contributor, and we have Mika Anttonen, chairman of the board of COB1. And we have you guys here. So I think these guys over here are wishing that this session will be interactive and you will also be speaking and asking questions. But without further introductions, let's first give an applause so that we can get the session going.
Okay, show the way, never follow is what Anne said is the slogan that we are using for the university, and you guys are maybe today, at least majority of you in the audience are following, but after years, which we hope to be short in this faculty, you believe and you should show the way. So I'm joined here with 2 distinguished gentlemen, Risto from Nokia and from F-Secure, and from whatever he is going to kind of tell you a little bit more about in the near future. And he will start, and that will then be followed with somebody who is renewing energy industry in Finland. Mika Anttonen from St1, I don't actually know whether you use the English term for that or not. We never spoke about that. But certainly 2 captains of the Finnish industrial world who have shown the way and are showing it today and continue to show it to the future. 2 examples for everybody that actually make a difference to the life of people who live in this country, on this planet, and so forth. And I have asked both of them to use maybe 10 minutes, and if they are very talkative, they can use more, to introduce, first of all, when they were in a similar situation at the beginning of their careers, orientating themselves to the academic world, getting some degrees going and so forth. Was that important, or was something else important as they have made it up to today? So without any further empty words from me, I will give some real words to these 2 gentlemen. And like I said, Risto will start and Mika will then follow. So Risto, over to you.
Thanks, Anssi. This is the first time I've heard a professor of practice suggest that you drop out of the university and become entrepreneurs, because he said that hopefully the years will be short. So good advice. That's what I did, by the way. So as I am a dropout who then later on graduated, I can start this intro by saying that don't do everything that I have done. Not all my choices have been good, actually most of them have not necessarily been that good. But I have learned from my mistakes. So when I was about 12 years of old age, my school in Helsinki got a computer, and that changed my life. I realized that the sky is the limit for creativity with computers. That was the age of, actually before the big 20 and Commodore 64, and that time most of you were not even born then. The passion for creating something from nothing is when you open the computer, there's an empty slate. You need to create something. That was really a wonderful feeling. So of course I needed to buy my own computer. For that I needed to start working, because my family didn't have funds to support me in buying a computer. So I started working in whatever kind of jobs a 12-year-old can get. And finally I got my Commodore 64, started learning that. And then slowly I started writing to computer magazines about the Commodore 64. I started reviewing games, I started reviewing programming languages, I started testing printers and new PCs and doing everything possible. I was an expert in everything I touched until I got caught. And somebody realized that I was not at all an expert, but I always started from the position of an expert. And I soon realized that the Finnish companies of that age, the end of the mini-computer age, they didn't really know PCs and PC networks. So when I was about 15, I started consulting large Finnish companies on how they can take PCs into use in the office environment. And that helped me through high school. And when I was thinking about what should I do after Lukio, I didn't have any bright ideas. So the only thing I could do was listen to my friend who said that the most difficult place to get into would be Tuta in Otaniemi. And so I said, okay, that sounds good. That's what I'll try to do. So not a very sort of deeply analytical choice. And I'm not very proud of that, but that's what I did, and started studying in Tuta. And I was very disappointed. I actually had this romantic idea that the university would be filled with professors who actually want you to learn new capabilities. They actually have a passion for you as an individual coming out of the university with new talents and capabilities, and they couldn't care less. They just wanted to sort of think of it as an industrial process, a sort of a chemical process where fluid comes in through one pipe and goes out the other door, and there's a screening process which is designed to fulfill the metrics that the university had been set, and if you pass, then everything is fine. It didn't matter whether you actually learned new capabilities or not. And I was really disillusioned during those years, and that actually led to the fact that after I had received maybe 2/3 of the points required for the master's degree, the work just took me along, and I stopped studying at the university. I founded F-Secure through the school, because we had a study item where the exercise that belonged to that course forced us to fill in the forms to start a company. And me and my study partner, we just returned those forms to the authorities. and not just to the teacher, like everybody else. Because we were both doing this consulting work on the side, and it was more tax efficient to bill our customers through the company. So we took the opportunity to actually start a company. 2 months afterwards, my colleague got a job doing his master's thesis for a company, and he stopped working as a consultant. So I was left alone. I continued my work assignments for different companies. I wrote or co-wrote a book on data security. I did all sorts of things. For example, I have trained or used to train all the staff, project management staff of the Finnish nuclear power plants. And I knew nothing about project management when I started those courses. I was perhaps 5 minutes ahead of the students I had. They never figured out that actually I didn't know too much about project management. But I ended up, after probably 20 different training courses that I arranged, knowing quite a bit about project management. So this feeling of always being able to learn fast and react on my feet made me feel sort of untouchable. Of course, it was completely based on the wrong assumptions, but I didn't realize that. I just kept going. And my customers were really happy with the service, so they were asking for more, and I started hiring people. I put a note on the wall of our student club for the first recruitment, and that's how it started. So again, no great strategies, no great product innovation, not even a product idea, just pretty much going with the flow. But doing what I enjoyed, doing where I could learn very efficiently, and doing what I felt was appreciated by my customers, helping them with a problem that they had. But writing the book on data security led me to again believe that I'm an expert in data security, which I knew nothing about when I started the book, but knew a little bit when I finished. And that created a passion for the cyber crime world out there. Because you can basically have any type of crime that can happen in the real world happen in the cyberspace, and a lot other things on top of that. And that's a fascinating thing to think about. How do you police the cyberspace? What are the locks of the physical world in the cyberspace? So I started funding a couple developers to write the first security software products for F-Secure. And to be able to pay those guys, of course, we needed to continue the consulting work and everything else we did. We wrote database applications for the Finnish industry. We wrote all sorts of process control software for certain customers, and we did basically anything we could to get the funding to keep the R&D work going. And over time we focused more and more into data security. And I was doing everything in the company. I was not just the CEO, I was the secretary, I was answering the phone, I was mailing the floppy disks as an update to our customers for the antivirus product. I wrote our manuals, I translated the manuals to English, I wrote our contracts, had a lawyer check them afterwards, but I wrote the actual contracts. I negotiated the distribution agreements for the international distributors. I acted as the technical support person for the international distribution channel. I was the accountant. I kept all our books for 3-4 years. And just by doing all that, I actually learned how the company functions. It's a little bit the same as Anssi managed in Nokia, where Nokia efficiently rotated people in different functions so that they could learn how the company works. I learned that in a sort of microscopic scope in a very small company, but doing pretty much everything. And of course, hiring more people, creating an organizational structure. And I must say that the academic background that I had helped me to foresee how the company needed to change. and I was very curious about the best practices. How does a company grow most efficiently? This was in the beginning of the 90s. F-Secure was founded in 1988. That's the impact I usually have on people. They leave the room when I get on with the story. So I had this interest in how to be a good leader and how to create a great company. That was my passion. If I could create a company that I could really be proud of and where our employees would love to come to the work every morning, that would be something wonderful. Creating this kind of a culture. That's why the company was originally called Data Fellows, because I was thinking about a fellowship. Every employee would feel that he's a member of the fellowship. And still today, after the company has been called F-Secure for 15 years, we call our employees fellows. And the employees call each other fellows. And it's always a heartwarming thing to hear when somebody is talking about fellows, because that's an indication of the fellowship. So I took the company public in 1999, not because we really needed to, but because I thought it would be a fun thing to do, learning about how that happens, and also because it was a big thing for the employees, all of whom were shareholders in the company. At that time, we had grown at an average rate of 80% annually for 10 years, and the shares had quite some value, so it was a really big thing for the team. We had maybe 300 employees or 400 employees, I can't recall exactly. So we went public. The tech bubble burst in 2001. It was a tough time. We regrouped and managed to sort of restart the engine, continued growing. In 2006, I had been CEO of the same company for 18 years, and I felt that I'm not learning anymore. I need to do something different. So I stepped down, hired a CEO, became chairman of the board for that company, and started doing other stuff. I have now invested in about 40 startups, almost all of them in Finland, or starting from Finland, and worked with many other startups to support their global growth. I have worked with the government on a number of projects, especially with the Finnish military, trying to help them to sort of become future-proof, not stick too much to the old things. Unfortunately, there's still a lot of that work that remains to be done, but we made progress. And then finally, I started working with bigger companies. I became the chairman of Elisa, the biggest Finnish teleoperator, and sort of helped steer the company through a takeover attempt by an Icelandic tycoon who tried to grab Elisa from its shareholders. And then I became a board member of Nokia, and in 2012, when the company was in real dire straits, many journalists were speculating when Nokia will go bankrupt, not if it will go bankrupt, but when. I became the chairman of Nokia. And that story alone could last a long session, but just to make it very short, I tried to apply an entrepreneurial approach to Nokia's situation, which is a fact-based approach. The truth is the truth, whether I like it or not, whether somebody else likes it or not. We have to face the facts. If we face them sooner, we can do more. If we wait a year or 2 years, we can do much less. And at some point, we cannot do anything anymore. So better to do something quickly than wait too long. So we started a lot of analysis work, and we ended up in a dialogue with Microsoft. I was heading that process as our CEO was a former Microsoft employee, and we wanted to prevent the feeling that he would be somehow biased in the process. So I negotiated with Steve Ballmer. We actually became quite good friends. We ended up doing the deal. It was a really exciting ride. 3 moments when the deal was completely off the table, and then based on the trust that had been created with the other party, we always managed to come back to the table and continue the process. And that perhaps saved Nokia as we know it. We might not have a company called Nokia today at all if that deal didn't happen. Of course, I don't know what would have happened. We would have fought very hard regardless, but it was a major thing. In the midst of that process, we had an opportunity to buy the half of the networking business we didn't own. It was a joint venture with Siemens. We didn't have money for that, so I managed to convince Steve Ballmer to loan us 1.5 billion euros, regardless of whether we do a deal with him or not. And he did that, thanks to Microsoft. So we used that money to make sure that we have the capacity to acquire the 50% of NSN. For the closing period of the Microsoft deal, for 8 months I was CEO and chairman for Nokia, working on the new vision, strategy, organizational structure, leadership choices, and capital structure. Then we started working on the Alcatel-Lucent relationship as part of our vision and strategy process. That discussion took about 1.5 years. And if we had done the deal immediately, it would have been a 50-50 merger of equals. Now that we took our time and had analyzed that time is on our side, we ended up doing a deal which gave us 2/3 and the other party 1/3. And now we are in the process of closing that. We also have agreed to sell the mapping business. So 4 fairly tough decisions, very big decisions, very emotional decisions, especially the first 2, not easy. Through these deals, the value of the Nokia business grew 15-fold. So it increased 15 times in 3 years, from a very low starting point to something that is let's say, reasonable, given the current multiples. And more importantly, we have a good plan how we will create more value going forward for our shareholders, our employees, Finland, and every country where we work in. And our passion is the same that I have always had with F-Secure and all the other companies. We want to have an impact. We want to be meaningful. We want every employee to feel every day that what I'm doing it matters. There's an impact on the world. And if nothing else, I'd like you to walk out of this room today with the feeling that you want to have an impact. Whatever you end up doing, you want to leave your mark on the world, because it will make you feel good. It will make people around you feel good about you and about themselves. And it's a wonderful opportunity. Sorry for the long intro.
And the dropout also finished his studies at one point.
Yes,
so,
I did.
He is a qualified engineer on top of that. So before I let Mika loose, I can just... So I'll just share something that I share with Risto. Being older than Risto, there were no Commodores or VICs or anything at the time. But in 1969, when I was 13 years of age, my math teacher took myself and 5 other pupils who were mathematically orientated according to him and put us into the first year students, just like you are. Amongst them into a programming course, what today is called the Aalto University in Otaniemi. And the 5 of us qualified all better than any of the first year students who were 5 to 10 years older than what we were. And that kind of stuck with me as well. You know that computers became my life after that, and I could not let go of that. The same thing happened to a friend of mine who was in that course, who today is a professor like I am, but he's a professor in the consumer research, Mika Anttonen, many of you might know. but we actually started our computer science a little bit earlier at the age of 9 together, because that is when the first color TVs came, and we had a big cardboard box at home where a Salora named Finnish-made TV was carried to my home, and we were thinking what to do with this. And there was a TV series at the time that was called A Journey to Space, Matkalla avaruuteen. And that kind of stimulated us to build the first computer. We were kind of putting some buttons on the cardboard box, and we took turns who was inside. The other one wrote questions that were put in, and then the answers came back. And this kind of opened the course there. So computers, they're a good starting point, that I can guarantee to all of you. But Mika, computers, I guess, was not the starting point for you.
Yeah, I can guarantee you that I don't know anything about computers, and hardly I can use one, but that's maybe not my expertise. But I was thinking about where should I start from when Risto was starting from age 12. And probably I jumped to the same situation where the first year, where you are right now, it was 1985, 30 years ago in Otaniemi, when I started there my studies. And to be honest, I didn't have too much idea what's going to happen, but then I realized that in first evening there were already quite good party. And I thought that this is quite nice. I like this a lot, and I guess big part of my success has been that I was pretty much active on social level, and I started to build up already that time connections, and I have been very active to build up a network between the people around the world, and being in touch with the people and dealing with different type of people, and that is quite often in whatever business you are in, big talent. I'm not saying that I'm having that, I'm still learning, because there are so many different people in this planet, and dealing with each and every culture, it's an everyday challenge. Every day you can learn more, and you can do it better. But of course, you can't be active, and you can't learn from the people if you don't deal with them. So there I have been always fighting a little bit against computer guys, because they are mainly talking to the computers, and
He's just envious.
I try to create here a little bit battle here as well. Yeah, I guess I was feeling quite comfortable in those student union parties and places like that. I have to say that studies were never key thing for me either. Risto put his effort to other things, like we heard, but I mainly use my free time, which was almost the whole day, to build up these social connections. And I have to say that work in student union, I was working for student union for some years. I was a chairman of student union of the University of Technology in 1990. And Nokia as a company I got pretty familiar with, because many people there, so-called alumines, they were ex-Nokia, or they were working for Nokia, and Nokia was very close to our student union. Then it was first of May, surprise, 1 year, 1st of May, and I was lying in my student union. I don't know where I was lying, most likely somewhere. But my friend called me, said to me that, Mika, please come here, somebody is calling you. And I was wondering what is happening again. I can't do anymore, I'm done. And I went to phone anyway, and there was a nice female voice. I was saying that, is it Mr. Anttonen? And I was thinking what I have done last night. Do you have a time tomorrow to come to interview? And I thought that this must be some kind of joke by my friends. And Well, I said, yeah, of course, what it is all about. And yeah, my name is Marjatta Viherlehto. I'm calling on behalf of engineer Malmivirta. She would like to invite you to interview to have a job here in Neste Trading. And I didn't have a clue that where this is coming from. And I said, okay, I have a promise to go to the summer work to the refinery of Neste to Porvoo, but I'm living here in Otaniemi, and Keilaniemi is only 300 meters away, so it's much shorter distance. So I said, yes, I'm coming, of course. And that's the way my career in international oil trading started.
But it's great to see that you applied the same careful planning that I did to your career.
It was a very well planned, and I have to say that why I have always wondered that why they called me in first place, and I can tell you that it was partly the story is linked to this university, because 1988 we had a so-called Nordic happening where all the technical universities of Finland were participating, and we were having a tour in Finland. We were visiting all high schools and telling what different type of career opportunities you have in case you graduate from University of Technology. And Lappeenranta was also in that project with, and I was leading that project. Kari Kairama, by the way, was the guy with whom I did work at that time in that project. He was a protector of that project, and it went quite well, I guess, and that's why they wanted to recruit me. But then I joined Neste, and it was a fantastic opportunity. I just realized it many years later that at that point the whole oil trading industry has just started, and it also landed to the Finland. But Neste was very much old monopoly type of company. And all the guys, the more senior guys, they wanted to keep going from 8 to 4 type of working process, and not talking any language to the phone to chaps around the world. So that was not really their expertise, and they didn't want to do the job. So basically, we had a great opportunity to start to do new things, and only imagination was the limit. So after a couple of months, I was buying cargo from Middle East, and I was selling that to the South America, and then I was buying a little bit gasoline from Europe, selling that to United States, and this is quite funny, and we didn't have at that time word risk management. That didn't exist. So it was pretty much the imagination was only limitation, and that is actually reason why I was very lucky, and luck is something what entrepreneur should have. I have many times said that it's better to be lucky than unlucky, and that is very true. So if I wouldn't have had all these opportunities without risk management, I wouldn't have learned all these things what I learned, and I couldn't have started my own business later on. But I was right time in right place, and quite often if you are thinking about starting the entrepreneur career, which I highly recommend, I'm coming later to that one, it's always important that you are in right time at right place. If this fundamental thing is not there, it doesn't really matter how smart you are. It's very difficult to make it successfully. Anyway, I worked there for until '96, I guess, and then I didn't have any idea to start the entrepreneur career at that point. I was only 29 years old. I was leading at that time product trading worldwide. I had 7 offices around the world. Roughly 100 people were reporting to me, and I was proposed to that job by Singaporean guy, 55 years old, And in that culture, age is approximately everything. So it was a tough time to start the job, and especially it was tough time to leave the job because he put his effort to promote me to that job, and it was one of the most difficult decisions what I have ever made when I left the company. But I got an opportunity. Somebody came to me and said that, Mika, you can start to do this business what you are doing, trading cargoes from one continent to another on your own account. And I said, well, come on, it's mission impossible. You need at least 100 million US credit limit to start with. I have only a little bit house loan, and that's about it. And they said, no, please come to Geneva and we tell you a bit. And I had that meeting, and I told to the bankers that this much I need money to be able to do the business what I have been doing. And they said, okay, we'll think about it, Mr. Anttonen. And they called a week after and said that, could you start with 80 million? And I said, well, why not? And then you are wondering that how could anybody give such a money to the guy who doesn't have any own equity, and that's the whole point in oil trading, that there you are using the money to buy the oil. Money is committed to the oil, so it's quite easy to change the money again. And to whom they gave money at that time? They gave money to the people who they knew that they can do the business. And that's one thing when you are also considering your starting point to start as an entrepreneur, that we are quite, and it can be in very different business, different situation, but I think you have to honestly answer to yourselves when you are starting the business of your own, that do I know something very well? So it's better to practice yourself up to certain position and to be absolutely sure, not absolutely sure, you don't have to be absolutely sure, I take my words back, but you have to have a feeling that I can do this, I'm good at what I'm doing. Because if you are not in a highly competitive global market, it's very difficult to be successful if you are not good at what you are doing, no matter what it is. But you can practice yourself. Age is not the issue, but the issue is that you have to be good at something, whatever it is. Then I started my business of my own. I don't go to the details, but I think it was 1998, 99, only a couple of years ago when we started, I started to feel that this trading business doesn't really give me anything. Like Risto said, that he has now learned everything, he has to find something new. I had a pretty much same situation, but I felt a little bit differently, that I want to start to do something which has a meaning, where I feel that this is important what I'm doing. Because before that time, I was pretty much, I have done only buying cheap, selling high, and that is not really giving too much good feelings after you have done it for 10 years. It's of course nice to make money. You can't deny that money is an important part of the business, but it can't be all of it. And then we started to build up our present existing strategies. Has been there, I guess, almost 15 years. And I started to read a lot of different type of books about energy industry and how our standard of living has come to this level where we are, and what we have done as a nation, and what the Western world has done to be here. And it's quite easy to see, you all know that nowadays, that our standard of living based on fossil fuels and the way we have utilized them. And I started to realize it's our responsibility, to start to build up know-how to bridge the humankind from the fossil world to the renewable world. That gave me a lot of inspiration and a lot of energy to be successful and hungry in the business. And then I started to sell the strategy to my fellows and my partners, and I was pretty surprised how well it was taken by all of them. And since that we have pretty much trying to do oil business to be able to create the cash flow, and then putting as much as possible to keep the company up and running and sustainable to research and development work of renewable energy to make this world a little bit better place for our children. Values is the big thing. I believe nowadays that values is actually everything. That is giving reason for all of us to wake up. That gives us reason to go to the work. And the values, from there you really get the content of your work and get the meaning. I don't say that the salaries and bonuses doesn't matter. Of course they matter. But up to certain, when you are really trying to find the top job, top expertise, you can't do it only by money. With money, so there has to be the values and the meaning why you are doing that, and there the highest competence is coming from. I don't say anything more. I have now used more than enough my time. ST1 has developed your time. Sorry, ST1 has developed since that quite nicely. That all can read from the papers if you are interested in. But what I do want to say to all of you that if you are considering to start a career as an entrepreneur, I can tell you that it's a fantastic choice. You never go wrong. Because even if the business would go down, what you have started, you always come to the higher expertise level when you started as an entrepreneur. Good luck and show the world the way to go.
So I registered at least two good advices. One is that, don't finish your studies. The second one is trust your luck. So, those are important things. But on a more serious note, Risto and Mika, if you think of, the times back when you were, first year student and were sitting in a big hall like this, taking your first lessons to the academic world, and you had chosen particularly that you will enroll to university, meaning that you get the highest level of education to kind of back up your future plans. What was kind of the dream that you were having in your mind at that time? And what was the motivation? Why did you go and say, instead of getting some kind of a middle level schooling or something, you decided to go to academic institute?
Well, I think one of my perhaps inborn characteristics, I don't know where it has come from, but I sort of ended up with a very strong drive to always try to do my absolute best. And it's not just competitiveness. I'm quite competitive. I hate to lose, but I'm actually quite fine losing in things where it's not important. But I still try to do my best. And that's what helped me find the motivation, even when I was doing customer projects in the early days where I didn't necessarily enjoy the topic or the doing, the content of the work was not that much fun, but I had this force that made me do my absolute best. And that resulted in the customers asking for more. And that same desire sort of forced me to go to university. I didn't have any choice. I knew all along that I will do that. And actually from my family, there's one other person over the last 4 generations that has gone to university, has an academic degree. So it was not the tradition in my family. So it was just something that I never questioned. And I think you should try to find that motivation or that spark in yourself, because it really makes things more worthwhile. You recognize the desire to have an impact and the desire to be proud of what you do and how you do it. One of the ways I led F-Secure in the early days was trying to figure out a few rules of thumb. And one of these that I always kept on repeating so much that people started throwing tomatoes at me when I was speaking to them. But one of them was that as a company, we want to be proud of not only of what we achieve, but of the way we achieve it. And these are very simple sentences, but the point is that every employee should really try his or her best, not only to do a good job, but do it in such a way that we'll all be proud of it. And if you find that spark in yourself, I can guarantee that you'll have a more meaningful life, regardless of whether you become an athlete, a professional sportsman, regardless of whether you become a teacher, become an entrepreneur, you become an accountant. It doesn't matter what you do, but you can always do what you do in such a way that you do your best and you can be proud of not only the results, but of the way you have done it. And you'll be successful.
I think that also builds very well to what, Mika, you were saying about the kind of being an expert on something, and I can testify for that as well. That what I have seen throughout my own career is that the best general managers at the very high level in big corporations and so forth are people who actually started as real specialists on something, so that they build kind of like a platform through which they can look to the world and be good. And then later they kind of use that to become generalists of everything. But it's the passion kind of to go there, and then the expertise that kind of bring you up in this way. Where I have seen people who were generalists right from the beginning, they never actually really made it.
I have to say that I would have answered pretty much same like Risto. That's at least one thing what is common to us. I had the desire to be best. I remember the highest motivation for me when I was trading in Neste was that all traders, when I joined, they were either English, US, Singaporeans, and it was told pretty much by our management that you can't be that good because you are Finnish, almost like that. And fucking hell! So I'm going to show them that I'm going to be the best, and that was a really high motivation to show that I started in Neste Tower 8 o'clock in the morning. I took care of the corporate bullshit during the day. And then I worked a trading side until 10 o'clock when New York was closing. And I did that almost every day. At that time, we didn't have mobile phones or things like that. That was, of course, big change when those came into the picture. But it sounds a little bit in Finnish standards that I try to be best. We are ashamed to say that. So aren't we? So we don't want to say that I would like to be the best. Who this guy is thinking? What is he trying to say? But you shouldn't think it that in negative way. You should look at it on positive side of it. That if you have that kind of passion inside you, and you can send to your environment that on right way, it can actually boost up everybody's performance. It can generate very good atmosphere to work, and people are trying to really achieve extraordinary things. And when in one day you are getting one of the results out of that, it feels very good, I can tell you.
When I'm hiring, I'm trying to hire people who want to be the best, in a nice way. Not with sharp elbows, but they want to be the best.
Exactly. That's what I try to say, not with sharp elbows. It's not nice. It's you have to be good fellow as well. That kind of behaving is coming from the values, what I tried to say earlier on.
So it's a combination of talent and attitude. And this school can teach you talent and skills. Perhaps the talent you inherited from your parents, but the attitude you need to find from within yourself and from people around you. And I think entrepreneurs and top athletes are a great source for that kind of a motivation.
Yeah, one other thing, Mika, that you brought up there was the networking element, and here we have many students that have come to Lappeenranta and knew nothing about South Karelia even before, and are kind of seeing faces around them that they never saw before. But in the few years to come, many of you will know each others, and you will know a lot of people. I've also seen that in my own career path. Operating globally from Japan to South America to this way, that way, and so forth, and having a network of people in almost any discipline of the corporate world that I can directly call to and pick up the phone and discuss is a vast resource that you have. But at the time I was studying, it was not taught, it was not even brought up as an idea that build your network. It just kind of happened, and like you said, that you just socialized with everything, and that was the main thing. Today, this is kind of elevated and brought up also more systematically, that people are encouraged to do this. Are there any advice that you could give to our students about, other than be active in the in the hours that are very late as well?
But that's good as well.
But any kind of advice how you keep up kind of building your networks and maintaining the networks from now to the foreseeable future?
I think I'm not capable to give you advices on that field, because nowadays you have all these different type of machines, how to do that
the privilege of computer guys.
So exactly. So at that time when I was getting socialized, whatever you call it, networked, we didn't have those machines, of course. It was pretty much meeting people around the world. I was in worst year in Neste. I think I was traveling close to 200 days per year, and that was really awful. But I saw that it's very important that you meet people face to face, and you have seen the guy, and you can give him a call, like Anssi said. It's very valuable later on, when today I have to build up the picture that what's going to happen in oil business in next 2 years or whatever is the mission. I can make 10 phone calls and I have a pretty good idea what's going on in each and every part of the world. And that is a huge resource. You can't really substitute that by any Googles. So it's something, of course, these computers has changed it a lot, and nowadays my kids, for example, when I look at their Instagrams or whatever they are, it's a different world, and probably I'm not capable to give you advices. You probably are more capable to give me advice how to be networked nowadays.
But if you think that business is done between companies or between machines, you are terribly wrong. Yes, business is done between people. And people are wonderful. And we all have our own stories, and we're all so interesting. If you have that genuine interest in the other person, like my friend in the front row that I have been watching all along today, you have a fantastic story both behind and ahead of you. And I'd actually be curious to know who you are. And if you have that genuine feeling, that curiousness about the other person, it will help you network, and it will help you make an impact on the other person. Yesterday night I was having dinner with the CEO and chairman of one of the very large operators in Asia, teleoperators. And when I came home and my wife was just going to bed, it was quite late, and I told her, what a wonderful guy. I mean, people are so interesting. He was 63 years of age, had lived a long life, very interesting things happened to him. And it was a fascinating evening because of him, because of the stories he told about his life. And of course I was sharing some stories as well. It was a wonderful evening. And it was not about business as such. It was about trust, learning to know each other and creating trust. And when you have trust between individuals, you end up doing good business between companies. And that's networking.
Very good. Any questions that you might have to these two distinguished gentlemen here? Yeah, I think that it's a fairly self. There's one.
Woke up.
Mika, by the time you got the job interview, did you have any experience trading before?
No, I didn't have any trading experience before, and of course I didn't start from the trading desk. So I started to do operations, and I had a little bit better background than some others who were starting same time there, because I had worked before that in Neste oil refinery for a couple of summers, and refinery side was also somehow I handled that as well, so I knew what gasoline is, and I managed to understand what's the difference between diesel and gasoline, and some others they didn't. So I had a little bit better starting point in that respect, but no, I didn't have any trading background, and actually what I tried to say in my short story, the whole industry didn't exist 85, I would say. Then it was before that pretty much trade between countries or national oil companies. It was not trading where everybody can be part of it. So NYMEX exchange started early 80s, and then London came a couple of years later, and then the physical trade, which is linked to those exchanges, started pretty much same time, but it was very young industry, and in Finland there were no expertise on that one.
Very good. We have exhausted the 1 hour time that was reserved for that, and I will introduce the two of you because I know both of you. Okay, but Anne, if you will just then close this event.
I think it's time to thank our panelists with a small gift and a memory from LUT. We will give each our panelists a flying plate which has a small innovation inside, an innovation made at LUT by an LUT engineer who first developed the needed expertise and studied and completed his degree before becoming an entrepreneur. So I think what we have learned today is that you really need to have some specific skills, but most importantly, the courage and believe in yourself. And what I would like to say that, okay, here are the trailblazers of today, but you are the trailblazers of tomorrow. So now it's your turn. And let's give a big round of applause to our panelists and thank them for coming here to share their story. Thank you.
Now you can all go and build your careers.